60 Minutes Rewind.
If Rupert Murdoch is not the most powerful media mogul in the world, he would like very much to be. The Australian-turned-American has created a broadcasting and newspaper empire in the United States and Europe and Asia. And right now, Mr. Murdoch is in the middle of a big feud with another billionaire broadcast baron, Ted Turner, the man who created CNN. We wanted to get to know more about Rupert Murdoch, but he repeatedly refused to sit down with us. And he wouldn't let anyone in his company talk to us either. He is the invisible man at the top of a very visible media empire. Ted Turner right now is Rupert Murdoch's biggest rival. What do you think of him?
I worry about how much control this man is getting, and there are certain things about him that are frightening to me.
Well, they must be, because you called him Hitler.
No, I did not call him Hitler. Let's get that. Can I say exactly what I said?
Absolutely.
Verbatim? I said that like the late Fuhrer, he controls the media for his own personal benefit. He is power crazed, I think. He's power crazed for money and power.
Turner has a history of ranting. But listen to Andrew Neil, who was Murdoch's confidant, editor of his London Sunday Times for 11 years, and is now a contributing editor at Vanity Fair. Neil says that Murdoch is a workaholic and an obsessive micromanager of his whole global media empire. How can he keep his finger on the pulse of all of these various operations?
By a mixture of telephone terrorism, in which he will just call out of the blue, you never know when, and he has a mind for figures, like an Einstein, and he just gobbles that up.
But that's hard work.
He never stops working. This is a man with no hobbies. No, he never goes to the theater, hates the opera, concerts, even movies he's not that keen on, even the ones he's made.
Murdoch started with just one family-owned newspaper in South Australia. Today, his company, News Corporation, owns more than 100 newspapers, the HarperCollins Publishing Company, TV Guide, and satellite networks in Asia and Europe. He became a U.S. citizen in 1985 so he could buy American TV stations. Presently, he owns a dozen of them, plus the Fox network and the 20th Century Fox movie studio.
I love the free market. It's certainly been very good to me.
He loves it. He gets a huge buzz out of it. He particularly gets a buzz like a cocaine high out of deal making. He actually hasn't got the attention span. He's got the, for running things, he's actually got the attention span of an MTV commercial. So he's not a very good manager, but the deal, he's like a Las Vegas high roller. He loves the excitement, the adrenaline push of a deal. And in my view, he is the most formidable deal maker in the world.
And Murdoch, who is 65, loves to play hardball. He is suing Ted Turner and the Time Warner Media Company for more than $1 billion in a cable TV dispute. More on that later. As for Turner, he gives as good as he gets. How'd you come to call him a scumbag?
Well, I said that because of the way he goes, what we call within the media business, down market.
Down market means sleazy, salacious, like those soap operas, Melrose Place, for example, that Murdoch airs on his Fox network in the early evening, a time traditionally reserved for family viewing.
What's it gonna take to get you to leave me alone, Michael?
I thought we resolved this last night.
I am a prostitute, Michael. You are a married man. It would never work between us.
So we don't have the perfect relationship, so what?
And Turner says that Murdoch's newspapers are just as sleazy.
In Britain, on the third page of his biggest newspaper over there, every day he has a woman with bare boobs on it. I mean, that's, you know, there's not a newspaper in America, I think, that does that.
I asked Andrew Neil how Murdoch, a conservative, can publish papers and create programming that many conservatives find so offensive. The buck is more important than his moral take on life?
You can't reconcile his private social views with what he broadcasts and prints. His wife, Anna, is always pushing him to end the topless girls in the page 3 of the Sun tabloid in London. Right. And he thinks about it, and he thinks, yeah, I remember once saying, yeah, we have to have a moral compass. But at the end of the day, we have to have a bottom line.
Nothing, Neil says, nothing in Murdoch's life is more important than winning. And he has a keen sense of what the public wants to see and read. 20 years ago, Murdoch spoke to CBS News about that.
I feel in all our newspapers that we're competing with television for time, not competing on just how to tell the news and how to be serious or how to... Let's face it, only 10% of television is news, perhaps less. 90% of our newspapers are news. We're not frightened to entertain as well.
Rupert Murdoch often succeeds because people consistently underestimate him. They underestimated him in London because of the Australian accent and the sleazy tabloids that he's got. He's been underestimated in America as well. Because there's no formal hierarchy in News Corporation, he can move with the speed of light to take decisions. He can bet his gut instincts to do something. He's the only businessman I've known who was bet so much of his instincts that he's actually bet the company.
Neil says Murdoch did just that in 1989 when they worked together and posed for this picture as they launched the Sky TV satellite channel in England.
I remember he called me from New York. I was sitting in London. We were waiting on the French rocket to go up to put our satellite in place. And he kept on calling. And I said, Rupert, what's the problem anyway? I said, it's going to go up. He said, Andrew, I'm betting the company on this.
By the company, Neil means not just Sky TV, but Murdoch's entire worldwide operation. In 1990, he almost lost everything. How close did he come to going belly up?
Within 24 hours. He said, if I go down, the financial system comes down. And he came within 4 or 5 hours of that happening.
This is Sky News.
The Sky Channel eventually became a big moneymaker in England. In the States,
Fox NFL Sunday.
Murdoch gambled hundreds of millions of dollars to buy NFL football for his fledgling Fox network. He seized the broadcast rights from Larry Tisch, formerly the chairman of CBS. Murdoch talked about that in an interview with Jan Avent of 60 Minutes Australia.
We went in there not thinking we'd ever get them. So it was fun. You know, we put on such a big bid that we bluffed him away from the table and he never bothered to match us or even get near to us. But that was a $1.5 billion gamble.
But it's extremely high-stakes fun.
You bet it is.
But there have been setbacks. Murdoch's fat bids have failed to secure rights for future Olympic Games. And his cable news channel hasn't been a slam dunk either.
And Fox News Channel has a lot more news for you.
Murdoch has gambled over $100 million on his Fox News channel trying to compete with Ted Turner's CNN, but viewership is dismal. And some analysts say that Rupert Murdoch has overreached again. Fox News is produced from studios here on 6th Avenue at the corner of 48th Street in Manhattan. But you cannot see the news programming on most New York television sets, and Rupert Murdoch is said to be furious about that. He knows that New York City is the communications capital of the world, and he blames Ted Turner because almost no one of us can see Fox News on television here.
The story will continue after this.
And it says it right back there, Time Warner Turner.
Murdoch thought that he had a deal to air his news channel on the Time Warner cable systems, but the deal fell apart, many believe, when Turner, an officer of Time Warner, decided he didn't want that kind of competition for his CNN. Turner denies he's responsible, but Murdoch lashed out at him in his New York tabloid, publishing a nasty story about Turner, including this crying caricature. Do you get upset when the New York Post publishes a picture of you crying in a straitjacket, and the headline asks, "Is Turner nuts?"
It's clear what he's trying to do. He's trying to paint us as a leftist news organization.
No, he's trying to paint you as a nut. He says,
but that too, right?
The Post says Turner veers dangerously toward insanity.
Well,
oh, you read that?
I read it. I mean, I expected it from him.
And that wasn't all. For a while, the Post left CNN out of their daily TV listings. And when Murdoch's Fox network broadcast the World Series, Ted Turner, owner of the Atlanta Braves, was rarely shown. And when he was, it wasn't flattering. None of this surprises Ken Auletta, who has written about Murdoch for 20 years. He says that Murdoch is not reluctant to use his media power to attack his enemies and to curry favor with the mighty.
For instance, Gorbachev's in power. Who negotiates a book deal with Gorbachev? Rupert Murdoch. Margaret Thatcher's in power. Who negotiates a book deal with Margaret Thatcher? $5 million. Rupert Murdoch.
In China, the daughter of Deng Xiaoping, behind him in this picture, also won a Murdoch book contract. And that's not all Murdoch did to please the Chinese.
He's always taken the view that I don't believe in censorship, and the government will not tell me what to publish. Yet when the Chinese government objected to the BBC, what did Rupert Murdoch do? He dumped them from his star satellite system in China.
The Chinese had objected to BBC's reporting on Mao Zedong and human rights. In Washington, just before Newt Gingrich became Speaker of the House in 1994, he too was offered a multi-million-dollar book contract. Murdoch says he didn't know about the deal.
Can we talk about the book deal for a moment, sir?
I've got nothing to hide at all.
The official line there, I only pass it on for what it's worth, is that he knew nothing about it. I'm not saying that because my nose could get longer.
Yeah. In the last election campaign, Murdoch contributed more than $1.5 million to political candidates, most of them Republicans.
Rupert is a political ideologue. He has his right-wing Republican agenda.
Is it a fact that he once said that Oliver North, quote, deserves the Congressional Medal of Honor?
He thought Oliver North was one of the greatest heroes in American history.
He's genuinely a conservative.
When you regard Pat Robertson in 1988 as the best Republican candidate, you can see just how conservative he is.
Did he?
Reagan was his hero. He hates Clinton.
Which was obvious during the election campaign to readers of the Post. And on Murdoch's new cable channel, the news also comes with a conservative spin.
Those who are streetwise in America's big cities know that drug pushers and liquor stores make a ton of money the day the welfare checks arrive. It's a tough thing to say, but it's true.
Ted Turner disdains all this. He believes Murdoch's political bias contaminates his news coverage.
He looks down his nose at do-good, honest journalism. He thinks that his media should be used by him to further his own goals.
Turner told me that is why he refused to sell CNN to Murdoch.
I said, no, you'll never get CNN because I don't want CNN. I want it to be in the hands of a journalistic company who has integrity. You know, he doesn't have integrity, in my opinion.
Both Murdoch and Turner were invited to the White House along with other TV executives to talk about the V chip, but Andrew Neil says Murdoch has little else to say to Turner.
He thinks he's a Looney Tune.
Does he really?
For sure. And he thinks he's under the crazy influence of Jane Fonda. And that's exactly the kind of left-winger that Murdoch really hates. So this battle between Murdoch and Turner isn't just a battle of business enterprises. It has a great political edge to it, which is what gets Rupert's juices going.
Why do you think he wouldn't want to talk to us for this piece?
He would not want to do this because he would assume it's going to be a hatchet job. He thinks, like all mainstream American news media, from the big city papers to the major networks to the major news magazines, that there is an anti-conservative liberal bias.
I don't get the feeling that you dislike him.
I admire him a lot, but you can never be friends with him.
Does he have friends?
He has no friends outside his immediate family. Friends are a luxury Rupert Murdoch can't afford because everybody's disposable in Rupert's world.
I fear him, and I don't trust him.
I fear him, and I don't trust him.
That's right.
Do you know Ted Turner?
I do.
Compare the two.
Oh, Rupert's far more formidable. Ted Turner is what I think walks a fine edge between genius and madness. There's nothing mad about Rupert. I would put my money on Murdoch any day against Ted.
Truly. If they were the two last men standing?
Murdoch would be the one that would win. I mean, it would be an interesting battle. It would be sort of Godzilla versus King Kong, but I think I'd put my money on King Kong.
By the way, Mr. Murdoch, if you're watching, our invitation is still open. We are ready to sit down and talk with you any time that you're available.